Hello, this is another episode of the Burnout Show, and I am Dr. Veerle van Tricht. I am a trained medical doctor and an ophthalmologist with an interest in holistic healing, functional medicine, and preventative medicine. And I have a wonderful, wonderful guest today with us, Dr. Tayo. I hope I say it close, Tayo. Who has an amazing program which I want to learn about. It's called Get Your Sassy Back. She's a trained physician and radiologist. And my first question to you is, what attracted you into this direction of functional medicine?
Thank you, V, if I may call you that.
Absolutely.
Over the years of medical practice, and it's been quite a few years, I realized that we were good at some things in traditional medicine. We were good at, you have an appendix, you have something that's acute, they better get you to the hospital like fast.
Yeah.
I also realized that there were a lot of people who were falling through the cracks and who we never really had an answer. We kind of like managed them, but we didn't really do much for them.
Yeah.
So if you had things like, infectious processes, arthritides, if you had diabetes, it was kind of like a slow downward trend. There was almost never a means to actually stabilizing and getting better.
Yeah.
And, I started delving into it and discovering that actually it doesn't have to be either or. It doesn't have to be traditional or whatever you want to call it, natural, holistic medicine, because I believe holistic medicine is an integration of both parts.
Yes.
Sometimes they call it integrative medicine. And I believe that you have to use both parts to get to treat the whole body.
Yeah.
So mine is, whole body, whole health, whole life, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what attracted me. So over the years, looking at things like, at one time I was underweight, what do you do? And looking at other people, what do you suggest to them? So I was an avid, shall we say, investigator into what can I do to help this person? Because as you know, as physicians, we basically want to help people. And we shouldn't limit ourselves to the tools we have. We need to look outside and find any tool that would make their lives better. And it was in looking at that was my original introduction into it.
Yes, I agree so much, but sometimes in certain environments, you're not allowed to mention certain treatments. Like in the US, it's chiropractors are considered doctors, but here in the UK, they're more considered quacks. And I go to an osteopath regularly because it helps me enormously. So I believe that into recommending it to some of my patients who get referred to me with headaches, and the GP says, oh, maybe there's something wrong with your eyes, but basically they're just misaligned. So, but I can get into trouble for referring them to an osteopath, which is sad because just like you said, I became a doctor because I like helping people. And it's sometimes frustrating when there's silly rules in place that stop people from getting better and it's not doing any harm. And so why can we not combine the knowledge from both sides?
Exactly, because the wonderful thing about most of these things, in fact, I'd probably go as far as saying all, but you never say all, is that they don't produce any harm, or at least much less than what we have been taught as conventional physicians. So why not start with the least invasive and least harmful thing? And if that doesn't work for whatever reason, move your way. But we seem to say, take this aggressive one, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You don't even get an alternative, So, yes, I completely agree with you. We weren't, and there's some of us who are taking what we swore, the Hippocratic Oath, quite seriously and say, what else can I do for this patient? I can't watch them and just give them things which I know don't really get anywhere. How can I help them?
Yeah, absolutely. I heard another doctor say yesterday, like how we were trained in traditional medicine, like if I can't find anything wrong in your blood, that means there's no real problem, or on your x-rays.
Gosh, isn't that sad?
It's not because like if I can't find it, it doesn't exist, kind of thing. So it's very
sad. And that's a limitation of not only that doctors, because it's not a limitation of medicine as a whole, it's a limitation of that doctor's mindset. That he believes he knows it all and can have access to. We all know. Remember the days when we thought that the brain had finite capacity?
Yes.
And now there's neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
or when you thought ulcers were caused by, strong spices, and now we know it's a bacteria, remember? So those kind of things, we can't know it all.
No, absolutely. You always have to, I mean, I'm born open-minded, so for me, it's not a problem, but I do get into conflict with narrow-minded people. But yeah, it's not up to me to change them. So as you,
it's by example,
yeah,
it's by example, it's by doing what we know. Our circle of influence by what we do becomes wider and wider when they understand what we're doing and they can see the results that we're getting. So it's by example. It's not by talking and it's not by insisting, but it's by doing. And I believe that those kind of things produce results when you can have some tangible results. Oh, guess what? I had a person who was really burning out, well on the way. To discover that, well, what the focus was sleep. She felt that her sleep was really bad, and that affected everything else, went into weight gain, etc. She was obviously going into, perimenopause. And with a few tweaks, and it wasn't a face-to-face, we're talking, telephone conversations, not even a Zoom call. And in 5 days, apart from sleeping better, she was now off her sleeping pills. That is the change we can make, instead of giving people sleeping pills because they can't sleep. You do not want to be on sleeping pills.
Yes. I've had the same experience. One of my colleagues accepted my tips. I've got like 10 tips for better sleep. And he said like, wow, I've implemented that. And straight away I'm sleeping better. And another person said, yeah, I've implemented some of your tips on clutter clearing, so because you will feel better in a space that's not full of clutter. And she also had like an amazing change in her whole life, actually, became less anxious and less depressed. So why not? I mean, there's no harm in advising people to buy better blinds or make sure, or put headphones on if they sleep in a loud environment. It's not causing any harm, and it can help a lot of people. And there's more tips to that, of course. So I completely agree with you. And that's why I'm so happy that you're here, because my previous guests have never mentioned the importance of hormones and on people's fatigue. So could you explain the correlation there, please?
Well, what happens as we go into, and it's a slow process, they will tell you mid-40s, but now we're finding women who are in their early 40s and even late 30s, sometimes going to menopause. And I think it's due to the amount of, various toxins in the air, in our food, bad food, those kind of things, and stress particularly, which I think is changing our bodies, and we're moving earlier towards certain things. Just like you're having girls into early puberty, you're having women going into early menopause. So what happens? As you know, when you're approaching menopause, it's because your hormones, you're supposed to be past your childbearing years, not completely, but it's winding down. So it's a winding down process. But during the process, it never goes in a straight line. It goes up and down and up and down. So one day you're great, the next day you feel like crap. Forgive my language. And so as it's going up there, which is why for people who go to conventional doctors who take some tests, and the doctor will say, oh, your bloods are normal. They may have caught you when your hormone level was okay. And the very next day, it goes into a dip. You need to look at the whole picture. So a woman comes to you and she says, I have hot flashes. I have night sweats. I'm exhausted. You don't need a doctor to tell you she's menopausal or she's going into menopause. She's peri-menopausal. You do not need one. So that's the fallacy, that you need your doctor to confirm it. But what happens is the hormones, estrogen, and all the hormones are going downwards. Now, what gives you strength and resilience is testosterone. And our testosterone is also going down. So you're having this downswing of estrogen. You're having this downswing, and some women have next to none these days because of stress, of testosterone. And so you're feeling fatigued. And with all the other factors, you end up like close to burnout, because you're trying to do your best working. And the more you stress out, the worse the situation becomes. It's a vicious cycle. So you need to arrest it and say, oh, see somebody who understands, or speak with somebody who understands the totality of what is going on and says, oh, you need to look at your sleep, you need to look at your diet, you need to look at your exercise, maybe you need to figure out some stress reduction techniques, because all of these symptoms go together.
Yeah.
Some stronger in some women than others. So some women, it'll be sleep. I was sleep deprived for 9 months, and that was how I got into this. I practically didn't sleep, and yet I had to function as a radiologist, and you're keeping it together, and it was all I could do to function. I had to let a lot of things go. So it's all of that, realizing that if you solve the major problem, the minor problems usually go. That most of them are probably to do with, in order, I would say sleep, as you mentioned, and I would go into stress. But if you solve sleep, and I consider that a superpower, you will have enough energy and wherewithal to look at the other aspects that may be affecting you. Weight gain, get some exercise, get some stress reduction techniques under your belt.
Absolutely. So I have a few questions, because you say that testosterone might be low in women who are fatigued and are in the menopausal age group. So do you recommend that they use testosterone creams or replacement in some form?
I would say go to a doctor, and I will tell you my personal experience of it is that I did end up on testosterone. I didn't like the side effects.
Okay. Yeah.
I just did not like the side effects. So I kind of stopped. And it was because at that time I was trying everything I could to get better. I think that some people may need it, particularly the creams. But I think that most people can actually figure out some other way of raising their energy, which will sustain their testosterone levels without having to take testosterone.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And what about estrogen replacement therapy?
Yeah, like I said, I did it practically all. So I was on HRT, and I was on high doses of HRT. People were going, oh my God, look at that dose. And it was when they said, look at that dose, that I said, guess what? I'm just going to stop. I've had 5 years of it, and it was doing me a little good. And I said, I'm just going to stop. I've been doing all the other things. So I talked to my gynae and I said, just taper it off, because you have to taper off hormones, as you know. And I believe that taking it for so long at such high doses, I now have something which is called a vascular necrosis of my hips. You will know what that means, which basically means that the small blood vessels supplying the tip of your thighs have basically collapsed because they've been blocked off, which is an effect of steroids. Yeah. And I looked at my MRI and I couldn't believe it. And I thought, oh, where did that come from? Oh, that's where it came from, both hips. So there are side effects to that. But I believe that when you have severe symptoms, you can and should have something to take the edge off. It's just like pain. You have something to take the edge off, somebody who understands, who gives you something to take the edge off. And while you marshal the other supportive treatments, other things to do with stress reduction, to do with sleep optimization, to do with nutrition, when you get those in, you do not have to take as high a dose. And that's what I've discovered over the years. You do not need that. It's got to be HRT or nothing. Yeah. It can be, if needed, to take off the edge, to allow you to function enough to get the other things in place. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very good news for people, for instance, who don't want to take estrogen replacement therapy because they have a family history of estrogen-induced breast cancer. And then definitely it's not recommended. And then it's good to have some other options. So I really like your approach. I had another question. Oh, yes. I'm very into food at the moment and how I feel with different kinds of foods. And I usually ask my clients, I recommend always have some protein with every meal and eat a rainbow and stay away from the foods that generally...
You've just taken away one of my tips I was going to give you.
Okay. My question was, what do you recommend food-wise?
Food-wise, for the woman who is beyond 40, it's important before, but for the woman who be beyond 40, what is one of your highest risks in terms of food? It's losing muscle mass. And muscle mass is gained by protein. The amino acids gets into the protein, and you must get as much protein into you as possible so you can build the muscles, which keeps your skeleton up and prevents you from fractures further down the line, and we know what happens when you get fractures when you're older. It actually is a good predictor of mortality, because you have a fracture and within, I don't know, in the 80s, within 6 months or something, you're dead. Because it's a predictor of mortality. And the only way to do it is to build it up as you go along, because the natural tendency is to lose somewhere between 2 to 4% of your muscle mass per decade. Now imagine losing all of that. And you know what it's like. If you don't use your muscles, they waste away. It's one of those, you don't use it, you lose it kind of things.
Absolutely.
So the protein becomes important to your diet. So that's what I think. And the other things may be a choice, but I think most people have some degree of gluten, not quite intolerance or sensitivity, but just our bowels are not, our system is not adapted to it. So I think it's always a good idea to, you don't need any more inflammation than you already have. Why do you want to add to it by eating what? Some cereal in the morning, which is full of gluten, sandwiches in the afternoon, and pizza in the evening. You're overloaded with gluten. And that sets up a reaction in your gut and makes it, not wanting to digest food, and it upsets the bacteria in your stomach. So I may try and keep away from gluten as much as possible from the diet point of view. Eating the rainbow is a given.
And also the dairy. I think a lot of people also have a reaction to dairy. The first time that I completely stopped gluten and dairy, I saw such an improvement in my general health and in my well-being. Like within probably a week, I felt like a completely different person. And weight loss.
Yes. And because the dairy, they will tell you it's almost hanging on to, producing more mucus and also all kinds of allergic reactions, etc. So you are advised to, and I also have almost dairy-free. Plus, I am slightly sensitive, not slightly, a bit sensitive to the proteins in dairy, to the casein and whey. So, and I stopped that, and all of a sudden, and every so often, I still have cheese because I enjoy cheese. I enjoy a good Roquefort or Stilton at Christmas. But I dial it down a bit because I know what's going to come. So I just say, okay, once or twice a year. But other than that, I stay dairy-free, and I've done that for years, and I feel so much better for it. I mean, there are alternatives, which are acceptable alternatives to practically everything dairy.
Actually, I like, I don't know whether, I think it's okay if I eat goat's cheese. I don't get any reaction to that. So, but maybe I'm just making up excuses because I do like.
I don't know. I think you may be right. I didn't try. I tried it for a bit, and I discovered I do like goat's cheese. But at the same time, I was taking goat's cheese. I was probably taking all the ordinary cow's cheese. So I just said, okay, get out, because I love goat's cheese. It has a wonderful flavor. Anything with a flavor. Anyway.
So we spoke about the hormones, about food, and you mentioned a little bit sleep. So what else would you, actually, I'm very curious, what type of exercise do you recommend to women in this age?
Women. Okay. This is not the time to start running, going to do Ironman or marathon running or hardcore gym work. In the same vein that you want to build up your muscles and keep them strong, you should be doing strength training, more strength training. You're going to do some walking, brisk walking, so that your cardiovascular system works, your vessels are nice and clean, but you need to actually start doing lots of strength training, much more than, pelotons and, hardcore cardio. You need to actually do some strength training. That same thing will build up your muscles, will give you, core strength, to be able to get you past the natural decline that will happen if you just keep on. I look at the old, when you talk of the old man who, well, not old, in our ancestors, when they would run from a lion, they had to be lean. So that suited them then. But now we are no longer running from lions every day of our lives. We need to be strong. And that is why you see a weightlifter, a bodybuilder who has those muscles, they are not lean. It can't serve them being lean. It serves them having muscle, which they can, by continue to activate, keep on being healthy and keep on supporting their skeleton for as long as possible. So it's important. Yes. Yes.
So this brings me to one of the last questions. What if you're so fatigued that you like really don't feel like exercising? Is there like a way to get slowly into it?
I always say everything you do, you can take at a small step at a time.
True.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything is a step at a time. If you're not feeling like exercising and you say, guess what? If all I did was in between commercials, if you're watching TV on your couch, if all I did was walk up and come back down, start with something that you won't go, I can't do this, because one of it is feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So if you can and everybody can take 10 steps. When I started doing a lot of walking, how did I start? Just, okay, take a few steps up there, come back. Go for a few yards and come back. And all of a sudden you discover I'm feeling better, I'm getting stronger, I can do further. And you just do it, but start small, everything.
Yeah. So one of the things that I used to do is like park my car further away from my work. So I had this natural built-in 15 minutes there and 15 minutes back every day. And also take stairs instead of elevators. What else? Oh yeah, and when I was waiting for something or for somebody, I would do like squats in my office.
You're good. You can
do that anywhere if nobody's looking.
But don't you find it funny though, that here are people going to the gym and they want a space by the door? You think there's something wrong with that. You're going to the gym to exercise and yet you insist on getting a spot right next to the entrance. I have never figured it out.
It is crazy, that one, yes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay, well, I so agree with it, and I'm so grateful that you clarified this for everybody. I'm sure this will like give hope to many people and give us some action steps, and now we know that we're going in the right direction. So that's great. Thank you so much. If anybody wants to contact you or wants to work with you, what's the best way to contact you? Or if you want to be contacted, you don't have to.
No. I mean, there are two ways of contacting me. There's the easy way, which is going through Facebook and maybe sending me a direct message. And if you do that, you just facebook.com/TAYODEE, TAYOD. That's where I'm under. And then I have a private group that people can join, but you can get in through there. The next thing is to send me an email, because with the email, I can send you a sleep quiz, for instance. And with a sleep quiz, you will get an answer to, hey, what's your sleep like? What might you have to do? I'll send you some tips. That's fairly easy. So you can get that either by, asking me on Facebook or by going to my email. And my email is drtayo@getyoursassy-back.com. So I'll spell it for you. DRTAYO@GETYOURSASSYBACK.com.
I'll spell it out under the video. So I love that choice. That title is great. Your email, Get Your Sassy Back. I like that. So thank you again, Tayo. And I'm gonna say goodbye now. And just for the people who are watching, I'm offering some free success coaching sessions because I want my community to communicate with me on how I can better support them and give me some ideas on the subjects we need to address. So anybody who's interested, please contact me. Also, my email is burnoutexpert@gmail.com. So I hope to see everybody next week and meet Dr. Tayo in person one day, maybe when we're doing like a burnout summit or something. That would be fantastic to have you there. Thank you so much for being here and giving us your wisdom.
Thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of being able to speak with you and your audience. Thank you so much.